if I lay down and I play dead and I stay dead, maybe you'll get sick of being the monster.
You're listening to the Breadwinner Energy Podcast with your host, Tay Daniels. Tay started her business 10 years ago with $100, wrecked credit at 7 months pregnant. Today, she scaled 2 multi-six-figure businesses and runs a global empire helping Black sheep women turn their ashes into intellectual property and their wounds into wealth. Tune in every week for raw, unedited episodes on becoming a wealthy woman, thought leader, and empire builder. Learn how lived experience becomes power, purpose, and your wealth empire. Welcome to Breadwinner Energy. Let's fucking go.
Welcome back to another episode of the Breadwinner Energy Podcast. Today's episode is going to be something that I have been sitting on for way too long, to be honest with you. Way too long it has taken me to finally just admit that this is what I want, this is what I'm doing, and fully owning it because of conditioning, because of society. And obviously, once we get into today's episode and I tell you what that is, it's going to make a lot of sense. But conditioning, societal conditioning has really held me back from just being like going all in while also going through the transition that I'm going through in my own life. And again, we're going to get into that today. But I would be lying if I said I'm not a little nervous. I am definitely a little nervous. But nonetheless, let's get into today's episode. Before we do that, though, I want to tell you guys a couple things. Number one is that the fire pit, which has been my free space now for almost a year, is becoming a paid space. I've also been sitting on that decision for too long, to be honest. And I made a decision that I want to give so much more to this space that I'm ready to fully turn up the heat on the fire pit with more live events, more live transmissions, more like getting in and working together while also creating a space that is home. To be honest, I want all of my spaces to feel like home. I want you to feel like this is the space for you where you are ready to fully come in and reclaim wealth, reclaim what is rightfully yours, to turn your ashes into an empire, and to fully reclaim every part of you that you're meant to come to this earth to reclaim, to turn your ashes, to turn your inherited poverty and abuse and trauma into reclaimed wealth. And so when we talk today about specifically what I'm going to talk to you guys about, I don't want to like get into it too much until I like fully just get into it. I want you to feel like, holy fucking shit, this is home for me. This is my space. This is where I feel alive. This is where I finally feel seen. And so I am creating really intentional spaces in my business right now. And I want spaces that are also reciprocal, right? I don't want spaces where women just sit in there quietly, hide behind the shadows, and just like peek at the things. I want you to be immersed in the work. I want you to come and ask your questions and like be able to feel alive in the room. And in order to do that, you guys have to put skin in the game. And so I am turning the fire pit into a paid place. And we're going to also do a live event at the end of April, April 27th through the 29th. It's going to be a 3-day live event inside the fire pit called Paid to Be a Cycle Breaker. And I'm going to literally teach you how to be paid as a cycle breaker. You already are. That's the thing. You are already a cycle breaker, right? You've already been doing it for probably your whole life, and you've been doing it at the expense of your own well-being. You've been doing it alone, and you've been doing it for free. Until now, because I'm going to teach you in 3 days how to uncover the parts of your story that you have been told to hide, or the parts of your story that you've been told are make you unqualified or unprofessional or too much, or maybe if you shared it, you would not get your 9 to 5 job. And so I'm going to help you uncover what that is and then use it as mastery. Use it as what builds your entire business. Use it as what builds your micro-specific niche, your story arc, which is what you would take to use in every single part of your business. And over the next month of April, I'm really going to be diving more into these concepts that I'm teaching and how these are really tied to your roots, how these are really tied to your lineage, to your ancestry, and how my work, what I'm teaching, what I'm doing comes from my own lineage, comes from my own ancestry, and how we're going to tie yours into yours, right? And using that story, using where you came from and what you've been through as the entire foundation of your business, how to turn that into mastery and be known in your work, in your space for something that is unlike what other people are doing. That is not copy paste, okay? Because I'm fucking so tired of copy paste coaches and not bringing originality, but also not bringing like you. You're just regurgitating what you're learning, right? That will be in a future episode, but over the next month, we're really going to talk about this. But in this 3-day live, we're also going to talk about how to get paid and be seen for the impact that you're making as a thought leader by opening and cracking open this door. So it's going to be a lot of vulnerability, but it's also going to be like going back to where did you come from? What was your upbringing? What have you been told is the thing that will make you the thing you need to hide, right? What have you been told is the thing that is, you know, not what would get you paid? And we're going to make it the thing that you become fully, fully known for. Now, also for my own self, right? Fire, the fire pit comes from my own native tribe. Okay. Ishkodi is fire in my native tribe. That is what the word is. That is what our native language is. And my tribe specifically is known as the people of the fire. The fire has always been very sacred to our people. It was never allowed to go out, even during the removal of our people and being transferred from our own space, our own tribe, and moved. A lot of us were moved to Kansas. The firekeeper is a super sacred role in our tribe. And so that's not only why I decided to name the fire pit, but it's also because this is part of my ancestral calling. And I spent the last 3 years burning down my business, decolonizing my business, and really rebuilding from my own roots of my own ancestral calling. And so I've decided that the fire pit needs to also change. What is happening inside needs to change, not just become a paid space, but like energetically and the teachings and the community and a place to gather and share and connect and again, share wisdom and it feel like a home base for you. Okay. And when I really went through this awakening, over the last 3 years, this really massive awakening, I was reconnecting to my lineage, to my indigenous roots. I was reclaiming that, no, this is who I am and not being afraid of what people say, not being afraid of any backlash, because at the end of the day, here's what's true, okay? And I am sure many of you have experienced this, right? If you're a woman of who's indigenous, if you're a woman who's brown, black, Mexican, literally any form of a woman of color, and or also possibly maybe even white passing or not, right? What happens is you go into spaces where you are not accepted. You go into spaces where you're stereotyped, where you're too white or you're too black or you're too ghetto or you're white passing or you're not enough to fit here and not enough to fit there. And that has literally been my entire life. My entire life is being white passing, but then also being called ghetto and then also white trash, but then also like just blanket ass. Like I've been called some of the most terrible fucking things as being an indigenous woman that's white passing. And so for me, it was just something that I always held sacred and close to myself, which is just like, why would I share this with people? Being indigenous is very sacred. It is something that is really, that I've shared before that I've kept really secret about my life. And this is why, right? Because of what society says, because of going in spaces where people are judging, shaming, belittling you based on what you are, who you are, what you look like, where you came from. And it has really been my mission here in this industry, in this coaching space, to create spaces that are home for women, that feel like that's not a conversation, that feel like oh no, I am absolutely taking up space here. I am being seen. I am going to use my voice. I am going to use my story. And I'm also going to be paid really fucking well and not be overlooked and overshadowed and overpowered. And I'm also not going to hold back because it might make someone else uncomfortable. And I'm also tired of everyone stealing my shit as someone who that's what's happened to you probably your whole life. Your whole life, even your ancestry, what has been known is you're a medicine woman. You're a healer, your ancestral line are healers, and you've come with such magic and such gifts. But then there's two parts. You've been told in this industry who to be, what to look like, and what to do to make money and success. And then you've done that and you've played the game, and then you're like, fuck that, I don't want to do that. That's like not who I am. That's not bringing these pieces of who I am. Or your actual magic and gifts that are yours have been stolen, right? Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent, but the point here that I'm making is I decided over these last 3 years to really reconnect to my lineage roots, to come out of the quote unquote closet and tell people that this is who I am, and to not be afraid or ashamed of any backlash or what anyone decides to say about me. But I think that's really important that over these years, going through a massive ego death, going through a decolonization again of my own business, of my own life, of my own mindset, of what I was told to do and told to be, and how I've decided to say, no, I'm not going to do that, while also raising brown daughters and who are half indigenous and half black, and really deciding that, like, nope, this is my legacy. My legacy is so much bigger than just me. My mission is so much bigger than just me. And I want to show the most raw parts of me on a journey that has felt really scary and really lonely, while also feeling like I'm coming home to who I am and my purpose and what I'm supposed to do. And with that being said, I've decided that my space, who I'm meant to work with, is Indigenous women, brown women, black women, and all allies. This does not mean if you're a white woman listening, this is not the space for you. I obviously have white women in my space. I'm part white. And the point, though, is that your upbringing, the generational trauma and abuse and poverty that have been passed down to you, the stories that you're carrying are what you are using to reclaim wealth. And if you're a woman who is not brown, black, indigenous, and you don't know what that's like, and you have not been raised that way, and you can't relate to being silenced, oppressed, you can't relate to what it's like to not fit in, my space won't be for you. You will be uncomfortable. But I also have friends, clients who are women who are like born into the ashes, born into the shit, who keep friends of all colors, who are allies, who not just post about it on social media as performative, but genuinely want to understand and have bigger conversations. Okay. So that has been what has been really scary is fully owning that this is who I am. This is who I want to work with. This is who I feel called to work with. Over the last year, I was telling one of my best friends in business that like I just can't explain it. It's a connection to the women who like this that I just explained. Like I can't explain why this is just an inner calling and knowing that like this is what I meant to do. And we're going to, in my space, reclaim that wealth, reclaim what is rightfully yours through entrepreneurship, through storytelling, through leadership. And it's going to start in the fire pit where we start with being paid to be a cycle breaker, which is undoing all of the pieces that you've been told are what needs to hold you back, have been told of don't share that with people, don't share these parts of you that make you unqualified. And we're going to start to undo the parts of you that you're still playing by these quote unquote colonizer rules in your business, in your life, in your family systems, even. We're going to undo those parts because if we're going to reclaim wealth, reclaim what is yours, that's where it has to start. Once we do that, what's going to happen is what comes up is going to be where you're going to see these patterns. You're going to see exactly what made you you and what you walked through, the fire that you fully walked through. And you're going to use that as mastery. You're going to use that as what creates your offers, your business, your pillars, your content, what you do, where you do it, how you show up. What are your roots? And then I'm going to teach you how to be paid and seen for that. And that, when you do that, there is nobody else in the industry that can match you. First and foremost, I don't know that there's any other indigenous women that are coaching. I wish there were. I haven't found them. And I go to like find these women to be like are like podcasts and stuff. And some of them do have podcasts, but they're not like coaching. That to me, I'm like, I need more of you coaching. Or if they are, they're just like not maybe claiming that part that they're not claiming being indigenous. Maybe they're just claiming like something else, which is fine. I'm just like, where are you? Come out. But when you decide to build a business from this part, from this lineage, from these roots, from what you've walked through, again, from your story, there's no one else like you. There's not even competition. There is finally a space where it's like, oh wow, she is like, holy shit, she's like bringing the fire. She is like way different. She is doing things and saying things that I haven't seen before. That's the point. That's the point. You're creating your own category. You're creating your own. And this, here's another thing too. You're also creating a healing business that's true. Let me say it that way. You're creating a healing work that is true, that is not what other, excuse my language, but whitewash strategies in the industry have taught you, where you can only go as far as your coach has gone because your coach can only go as far as her coach has gone, right? Like that's that whole MLM bullshit is like right now I'm seeing, let me just say it this way. I've seen women who've left my coaching spaces who are now teaching my teachings. And now I'm moving on in my business to further concepts, and they're still stuck at what I taught them a year ago. So then the women that are in their space can only learn what they have learned from me from a year ago because they're not advancing their own intellectual property. They're not advancing their own leadership. They're not advancing their own mindset because they're just taking whatever they learned in said space and then putting that into business and saying, here's what I'm teaching, right? Which is a disservice to their clients because their clients can only learn what they've learned from their coach. And once you start to see this, you will know whose coach is who's worked with what coach, and then you will clearly see the line of where it stops, where you can't learn more from this person because they haven't gone to a new coaching space to steal that to then teach it to you. And once you see that, you will then be like, holy fucking shit. That's the decolonizing of the coaching industry that we're going to get to in future episodes. That has been a big piece of like an awakening that I've had over the last 3 years of like, whoa, this is like happening a lot in our industry. And when I saw it in my own business, where I was like, well, I'm just teaching strategy. I'm just teaching at this surface level, which is true and not true, right? Because I've always led from like my own personal story and how to layer that in and my own personal journey of like what I walked through. But when I finally said, when I burned my business down, of like, I am going back to doing like lineage work, right? So it's like if I'm teaching shadow work, I'm teaching shadow work through the lens of like going back to my roots, my ancestry, what I've personally walked through, what my story has been, and that's what I'm leading with, right? And so this is the pieces of you that doing this work will forever pay you. This is how you actually get paid to be you as well, right? That's a big thing in the industry, like be paid to be you. And that's what it is. That's literally what it means. Like what are these pieces of you that make you you and not make you your coach or your last coach. Here's how you know if this is the space for you. Number one is you're a woman of the ashes, okay? Born into poverty, abuse, silence, family systems that have told you to be seen but not heard. Or what happens in the family stays in the family, or money doesn't grow on trees, or that money like that's not available for people like us, right? Now, usually these women are women of color, indigenous women, brown women, black women, or all women in general that have been born into oppression and generational cycles that have been designed to keep you small, broke, in fear, or in the cycle of the system. Okay. There are different systems that have been put in place in our society to keep women broke, scared, and not in control of their own lives, not sovereign, not free. Church is one of them. Church is a system that has been built to keep you in fear. Religion specifically has been to keep women in fear, right? And so as an indigenous woman in general, this has been the one of the biggest pieces of backlash I've gotten my entire life is that I am anti-religion and that the God that I believe in is creator, source, Mother Earth, right? And that I don't believe in the same God that Christians believe in. That I've gotten this backlash since I was a small child from like literal family members, and I talked about this openly. And I've gotten it in the industry, I've gotten it from team, like I've gotten it across the board because people did not understand that when I like because I didn't believe in religion, they assumed, which this is so funny. They number one assume I don't didn't believe in God because I didn't believe in their patriarchal God. And then they also believed that I worshiped like the devil. Like if I don't believe in your God, I also don't believe in your devil. They go hand in hand. That's the same book, the same story. I don't believe in any of it. As an indigenous woman, our roots, again, from childhood, are literal like what our system was, which was taken during, right? From us and then get like forced religion upon us, which is so funny when people are like, astrology is witchcraft, it's the devil. I'm like, Native Americans used the sun, the moon, the stars. Okay, anyway. So, yes, I've believed my entire life in the creator, the source, right, as God, and gotten so much backlash from this, but I'm not going to stop sharing that these are my beliefs. Now, don't get me wrong, this when you're in my space, first and foremost, my spaces are absolutely not about who or what you believe in, right? I don't care what you believe in. I don't care at all. What I do care is, are you pushing that onto other people, right? Are you shaming other people because they don't believe in what you believe in? And also, why do you believe in that? Do you believe in whatever it is you believe in because that's yours, that's true for you, or because you were told and taught that in a system that actually is holding you back, right? That is the reason you're not showing up in your business. It's the reason you're not storytelling. It's the reason you're not sharing the dysfunction of your family. And you're staying in because of fear and you're believing things because of fear, or is it genuinely, truly what you've decided to believe in? That's the only thing I care about. If you're not shaming and belittling other people and you have made a conscious decision that this is your belief for you, I don't care. I don't. I'm not going to be like, you should not believe in this. I don't care. This is your beliefs. This is what you have to, this is a personal relationship that you have to have, right? So it doesn't matter to me. My job is to help you become the version of you that reclaims wealth, sovereignty, freedom. And the only way I can help you do that is by undoing the systems that are keeping you in the cycles of fear, being small, being silenced, being oppressed, okay? So if you identify as like a black sheep, a curse breaker, right? The one that has gone first in your family, the one that's literally in therapy because your family has told you that you're the problem because you refuse to play by their fucking rules. This is for you. In my world, your story is your business model. Your wounds are your wealth. I need to say that again. Your wounds are your freaking wealth, okay? What you were told to stop telling people, what you were told to bury, what your family has told you to not talk about because it's not ladylike, it's not professional, you're airing out the dirty laundry of the family. That is your asset. That is your intellectual property to get you paid fuck you money. To tell the truth about what you went through because this is your life, this is your story, and it's time to stop silencing your fucking self and use it to change lives of the women for the women that are still living it, that are still going through it. In my space, we are not just teaching. We are not teaching. We are not only just transmuting energy, but you are fully reclaiming wealth, money, and power that is finally being returned to the women it was stolen from. That is what's happening in my world. Okay. So the fire pit is now going to become a paid space. Right now, if you're listening right now, it is $157 for the year. One payment, $157 gets you a full year. It will unlock every single course that is in the course portal right now. We have, let's see, becoming the version of you that creates a legacy. That's a masterclass. Uncover every block for money, time, and more impact is a masterclass. Embodiment-based selling is a masterclass. Rich Bitch Energetics masterclass, and becoming an energetic match for your dreams masterclass. You're also going to unlock a category which just has like my podcasts in it because that way it's all in one space. You're going to unlock Ashes to Empire, which is a 6-part private podcast that I recorded. You're going to unlock the Rebirth Challenge, which is like, I don't even know, 30 plus videos in the 30-day Rebirth Challenge. You're going to also get access to Unleashed, which I just did a couple weeks ago, the 4+ hour Unleashed training, and the Revenue Stag Solution course. You're also going to get live access to Paid to Be a Cycle Breaker, which is happening at the end of April. And then you're also going to get live events that I'm doing throughout the year, weekly live transmissions, exclusive content that you can only get inside of the fire pit. And it will be a space where you are starting to come home to your roots. You're starting to unlock these pieces of you and learning how to actually use them to reclaim wealth. Paid to be a fucking cycle breaker. Paid to be you. Taking up space that is rightfully yours to take up, owning that you're one. You're a category of one. No longer running your business based on whatever your coach told you to do and sell, which was like a regurgitated strategy. Turning your wounds into wealth and your ashes into an empire. Now, on April 10th, the price goes to $222 a year, $222 for the year. That's when the price will go up. We're just in pre-sale right now. So if you're considering joining Paid to Be a Cycle Breaker, get in right now for $157 for the year. As always, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I will chat with you on the next episode.
Out of my